Hi everyone, welcome to our Risk Management School. My name is Nicole Alcocer and I'm a member of the Pirani team. I'm excited to be here with you today to explore the theoretical and practical aspect of the different topics that we'll receive. To help us delve into this session on how to identify your processes correctly, we're happy to have with us Alejandro Orrego, who is CEO at Pirani. Hi Alejandro, it's great to have you with us. How are you?
Hi, Nicole. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this risk management school for the first time.
That's great, Alejandro. And before we begin, I would love to invite everyone to continue learning about the world of risk management by visiting the Pirani Academy, where you will find learning materials. And I leave the link now in the chat so you can research our website. And there are the website. So, Alejandro, before we begin, and last notice, finally, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to make them through the question and answer section, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of this webinar. Now, let's begin with this exciting topic. Over to you, Alejandro.
Thank you, Nicole. So as Nicole told us, today we're going to talk about processes, and basically we want to cover all the risk management process and the risk management circle in this season of the risk management school. But in every season, we're going to talk about a specific topic, and today masterclass is going to be about processes, right? So if you look in Google or ChatGPT or whatever search engine you like about risk management process or risk management cycle, you're going to find different diagrams or different recipes. I don't think there is a correct recipe, but we're going to work with one in this risk management school in these seasons of master classes. And that is basically this. The risk management cycle, for us in Pirani is, and the first step is identify context. As you can see in a lot of diagrams or in different methodologies, they begin with risk, but we're going to know more about what is not only risk, but it's about context. Then we're going to measure the risks, and the next steps is risk management strategies to mitigate those risks. If you want to mitigate them, but maybe not. Monitor and report, and continuous development. So again, in this masterclass, this specific class, we're going to talk about the first step of identify context. And in this step of identify context, usually, as I told you, people start with risks. And maybe if you want to do risk management in your company, okay, I have 1, 2, or as many risks as you like, but we recommend that this is not the first step, because as our diagram says, it's about the context. So our recommendation is to start with processes. If we're going to do operational risk management, the perfect point of start is going to be the process. So let's talk about the processes. What is this risk management school is about? So if we're going to find the ChatGPT definition of process, a process can be defined as a series of steps or actions that are taken to achieve a particular result or outcome. I think this is what we're going to talk about. Processes can be found in many different contexts, such as manufacturing, business operations, software development, project management. We're going to see a little bit more about it. And a process typically involves inputs, such as materials information, is like the components of the process. We're going to talk about it as well. And The steps in a process are often designed to be sequential and interdependent, so we're going to talk about this as well. So let's start with the components. What a process has. We can tell that a process has an input, activities, and an output. What is an input? The materials, information, or resources required to initiate the process. Then the activities is the tasks that we're going to do, we're going to perform in an orderly manner, step by step, because we want to receive, or we want to have an output, a tangible and measurable product, services, or results that are produced by the process or activity. So in an example, we go into the process of making a pizza, right? Let's go with a easy one. The output is going to be the pizza, right? And maybe the input is the materials that we need to that pizza. So maybe the ingredients, the cheese, pineapple if you like it. Those are the inputs. And the activities, maybe, okay, we need to make the pizza and the ingredients, and put it in the oven. This is going to be the activities, right? But again, this simple definition can apply to every process, manufacturing, software development. So there's another concept that we need to address is the categories or hierarchies of processes. Because in a company, maybe we have more processes or different processes, and we need to organize them or categorize them in order to make better decisions. So this is a very, this is a definition that I really like, is the macro process, process, and sub-processes. And as you can see, it's a hierarchy, because macro process is a high-level process that encompasses multiple sub-processes and activities. It is typically a complex process that involves many steps and functions and may span multiple departments or functions within organization. Usually, macro process in companies are the areas or departments, such as human resources, or commercial, or marketing, sales, technology. And because that's a high-level macro process, and maybe inside that macro process will be a more specific process. So the next hierarchy will be process. It's a series of interrelated steps or activities that are designed to achieve a specific outcome. A process can be part of a macro process, or it can be a standalone process that operates independently. And then in that process, we can have a procedure or activity specific beneath them. So a sub-process is a smaller, more detailed process that is a part of a larger process. Sub-process typically represent a specific step or subset of activities within a larger process. Then we're going to see more examples, but you understand the idea of the hierarchy of macro process and sub-process. But if there are any questions, please feel free to tell us. And there is another kind of types of classification of these processes in order to understand the context of my company. So we talk about missional processes, strategic, and support. So the mission process, also known as core processes, are the primary processes that are directly related to an organization mission or purpose. For instance, if my company sells pizza, maybe the process of produce the pizza is the mission of the company, right? But maybe the human resources process is not missional, it's going to be support, right? Or maybe the accounting or financial process is not mission, but is support or strategic in that company. But maybe if my company is staff augmentation, the talent acquisition is not going to be supporting, it's going to be missional, right? So every company has different categories in the processes they have. We also have strategic processes. The strategic processes are the processes that are involved in the planning and execution of an organization long-term goals or objectives. So maybe the missional processes should not change very often because you don't change your purpose or mission very often, right? But maybe you have for this year the goal to land in a new market, right? For instance, in Pirani, we have a strategic process to land in the English-speaking market. So for this year is going to be a strategic process. And maybe next year, we're going to have a different one. So the strategic processes are connected with the company strategy. And as I told you, the support processes, also known as enabling processes, are the processes that provide support and resources to the mission and strategic processes of a company. Human resources typically are support. At least you are a staff augmentation or a talent IT company, financial, delivery. But if your company is a delivery company, maybe delivery process is not going to be support, it's going to be missional. Please help us or ask everything if it is not clear. So, but I think the better way to understand this is with a process map example, right? So we have this in a company. Maybe we are a huge company or a startup or a small or medium or whatever. The idea of identify the context of the company to start doing risk management is to conceive the process map of the company. So we have these, the big ones are going to be the macro processes. As I told you, typically these processes are the areas or departments of the company. And inside those macro processes, we have the process itself, like this lighter green. And inside these processes, we have sub-processes. So maybe when like this enumeration is going to be more clear for you, but for instance, people or human resources is going to be the macro process, but beneath this macro process, we have talent acquisition and people development. Two processes linked to that macro process of people. And inside the talent acquisition process, we have the sub-process of recruitment or of onboarding. And inside people development, we have the sub-process of training and skill assessment. This is just an example. But you can say, oh no, my company is not that big. Maybe we don't have three steps or three lines of hierarchies. We're just going to start with one. That is okay, because the idea is you start doing risk management with the context of your company, right? But the important thing here is that you understand the process of your company, because once you have this map, it's better to understand what is the risk in every process. So again, with technology, for instance, a spoiler, this is the process map of Pirani, right? That this is the process map that I know the most. So in the macro process of technology, we have the process of software development and cloud infrastructure. And inside the software development, we have design, code, quality assurance. In marketing, we have content marketing and advertising. Inside content marketing, we have blog posting, event marketing, search engine optimization. In sales, we have inbound sales and outbound sales. In customer success, we had onboarding and support. And in finance, we had accounting, we have payroll, we have treasury. So in this example, we have the process map, all the process that my company has. And then we're going to categorize them or classify them in mission, strategic, and support. And again, this is not a standard recipe. For us in Pirani, technology is missional because our service is a software, right? But maybe in a I don't know, in a delivery company, in a manufacturing company, maybe technology will be a strategic or support. And for us, finance is support. But for us, people is a strategic. But again, in every company will be different in their context. And this classification of missional, strategic, and support is not a measure of a rating of the process. We're not saying necessarily that the yellow process are more important than the blue ones. It's just a categorization, a classification to better understand the context of my company. But if you want to do this as a measure, a strategic, it's up to you. It's not bad either. But there is, if you want to measure the process of your company, because maybe you have not 6, but I don't know, 20 macro processes in your company. So you say, it's very difficult to do risk management if we have all the processes that we have and we need to rate them or measure to understand what processes are more critical or we need to put more attention in a specific process. So there is also a good practice to critically assessment the processes based on ISO 22301, about business continuity, and they give us some good practices to measure the processes based on the maximum tolerable period of disruption, MTPD, or maximum acceptable outage, MAO, that defines the time period that could be endured as a result of disruption before being deemed unacceptable. And we also, this ISO have the qualification for critical activities to understand what processes in my process map are more critical. So we don't going to dive very into this measure processes methodology. Maybe we're going to do a masterclass specific about this, because again, this is more about the business continuity. But the message that I want to be clear is maybe you can do this tool or these good practices to measure your processes, or maybe you can just do it by the classification or the typification of your processes. I don't know if until this point it is clear, or you want to have more examples of this. Okay, seems okay. Maybe we have a chat. Sorry, Sander. Hi, Sander. I saw you chat here. I just started out as risk management in the security and medical industry. My employer referred me to. Okay. This is her question. Okay, Nicole will answer to you in the chat. Okay, so if we understand a little bit of how processes at the definition start in your company, we're going to also explain to you. I don't know if you have ever heard the concept of 3 lines of defense in risk management, that I think is also very powerful, because in this concept of 3 lines of defense, the first line of defense are the owner of the processes. No one will understand better the risks of a process than the owner of the process. So maybe the head of people, or the head of human resources, is the person in the company that understands better all the processes of human resources of people in the company. So that's the better person to understand what risks can impact the people department. And the best person to understand the process and the risk of technology are the CTO or the head of technology or whatever role you have in your company. So it's very important in order to ensure the risk management culture in your company that the owner of the process is being part of this definition of this map, because once they understand what the process is, the company is easier to understand the risk of the process. Because if you start in the other way and you just going to put risk in the table, you going to lose the context of your company. And in the 3 lines of defense, the second line are the risk managers, because the first line again are the owners of the process, and then there is your role as a risk managers, because in the second line of defense, you don't know the specific context of every process, but maybe you have an overview of risks. So maybe the head of people will list you, okay, we have these risks, this risk, with this risk. And with the context that you have, with talking with the CTO or the sales managers, you're going to see a more high-level approach. And that's why you are the second line of defense. You're not in the middle of the battlefield. The owner of the processes are. And then the third line of defense are the audit. That has a more broad vision of the company. We know they're definitely not in the battlefield, right? So once all we said, a good process need to has, and that's our recommendation. And again, there's a lot of cases about this, is clearly defined objectives. Because if you have a process in your company, whatever it be, is because you want to achieve something with that process. If you have the process of human resources, it's because you want to hire people and you want that people develop. And, you know, if you have a process in your company, it's because you have a clear, defined objective. Should be clear and specific. You need to have well-defined steps. Okay, we're going to have the process of talent acquisition or recruitment. What are the steps? Okay, we're going to publish the job offer in our channels, and then we have 1, 2, 3 interviews, we have tests. What are the steps of the process? If a process doesn't have a step, maybe it's not a process. It must have clearly defined roles and responsibilities, because the process usually don't execute them by themselves. Someone needs to be the owner of the process. That's right. In every company, in every area, they have a manager or a chief people officer. It needs to have a responsible here, and maybe if you have process and sub-processes, you need to have a responsible in every step. Maybe you have a chief financial officer, but if you have the accounting process, maybe you have an accounting people, right? Maybe you have a payroll team that execute the payroll process. It is difficult if you have only 1 people in finance that you have 7 process and sub-processes, because that only 1 people can execute all those micro processes. I don't know, right? So every process needs to be linked to an owner or a responsible of the process. Not necessarily 1 per 1. It's not 1-to-1 criteria, but it needs to be an owner or responsible. 4, effective communication. A good process should have an effective communication channels in place, because more nowadays, people come and go. And maybe you have the content marketing process. And maybe next next week we need to hire 2 more people. When these people came in the company, we need to give them the resources of the documentation that they need in order to they start the process that we have. Because if we do not have, maybe the next people that came in my company, they're going to start doing the things as they did in the last company, and my process disappeared. So we need to document and communicate my process in order that people came to do my process. We're not saying that we're not going to listen to anyone and my process is perfect, but the first step is it need to be communicated and documented. Maybe this new person is very talented and these people has an extraordinary ideas to improve my process, and that's amazing. We should embrace that. But in the first step, we need to be our process documented, right? And next step, measurable outcomes. Again, what we want to do with that process. What is the output? What is the outcome that we want with every process that we have? Because this is going to be very useful to understand the risk, because one of the operational risk is not having the outcome that the process needs. And that is the very first tip to the next masterclass. What is the risk of people process? Don't hire the people. That's the risk, but it's not the only one, right? So if you have very documented what is the measurable outcome of the process, it's going to be easier to identify the risk in the next step. And well, we spoiled this step a minute ago, is continuous improvement. There is no a perfect process. It's not exist yet. And maybe if my process of technology today is perfect, the context in the world will change. So the process will be no longer perfect tomorrow. So we need to continuously improve my process because the context change, the people change. So we need to embrace new ideas, but the first step is to be documented, because if not, it will be chaos, right? So we are on time. So we have an overview of how the processes of the company works. And in the next masterclass, we're going to talk about, okay, once we identify the process of my company, now we're ready to identify and link risks to every process. This is going to be the next risk management school in 2 weeks. And then we're going to deep into the second step of the risk management cycle of measure or rating the risk. This is going to be the next school. But today we don't going to have only the theory on the presentation of the processes, but we're going to see how to do this in a risk management software, because that's what the risk management school is about. We want to help you to put the methodology or the good practices in risk management cycle in a software. So if there are no more questions or about the theory about the processes, we can go deep into the software right now. So in Pirani, I don't know if I hope that you know that we have a risk management software. Besides the content that we create and the good practices and methodologies that we want to share with all you guys, we also have a software, and it's a very good software. not say by me that I'm the CEO, that of course I'm in love with my company, but in Capterra, this is a Gartner platform we are in the shortlist of best risk management software globally, and we're very proud of that. And also we are in the grid of G2 of operational risk management software. In the last report of spring 2023, we are leaders, and we have the best relationship of all the operational risk management software. So you can check, Nicole will going to give us the link, or G2 and Capterra, or if you want to see our reviews on what is the market telling you about Pirani. But we want to show you Pirani. We don't have to, this is not a sales presentation. We just want to give you the methodologies and the tools to do risk management. So again, we give you the theory or the methodology of definition of the process of your company. And now we're going to do that in a software to start doing the risk management process. So in Pirani, you also can have a free trial account of Pirani, completely in English or in Spanish if you want to. You can create a free trial account for 15 days in 2 minutes. We don't ask you for credit card or no, just your email, and that's it. And you can create an account if you want to do this right now to keep doing the exercises and the practice that we're going to do in this next 20 minutes. And basically, as you can see in the presentation, when we teach you about the risk management cycle, they identify context, measure risk management strategies, monitor and report, and continuous improvement. Basically, the full risk management cycle is going to be here in the software. But again, in today's masterclass, we're going to talk only about processes, right? So once you came into Pirani, the first thing you're going to see is our dashboard. In the dashboard, you have the heat map, the risk heat map, but we're going to click and dive into the heat map in the next class that is about risks. Not today, be patient. But you also have the inputs of the processes. How many processes do you have? The risks, the controls, the events, action plans, assessment, everything. But in the lateral menu, we have start with processes, because again, it's basically the side menu is the order and the step-by-step of the risk management cycle. So processes, of course, we have here some of the typical processes of a company, but again, every company has a different process map. Maybe we have created some, but we can create the process from scratch. So I don't know if someone in the audience want to give us an example of process, and we create this more interactive a little bit. So we can, someone says the name of the no, I think the delivery we're already having, yeah, deliver food. So food, let's going to do this according to the process map. Maybe we don't have, well, marketing process. Yeah, we're going to create marketing process. So we put a name, marketing process. So we start selecting the thing that we teach you. The type, it is missional, it's supporting, it is strategic. And we're going to put, as I defined, is strategic in this case. So we put strategic. And in the category is a macro process, right? We can have a description in order to advance And remember that I told you that one of the good practices is to be documented. Maybe you have the document with the step-by-step of the process, of a diagram, or whatever you have. Maybe it is good to attach the process diagram. Maybe we have here a diagram, but this is optional. So you're going to put in the risk management software the process that your company has, and then you can link risks. Not today, in the next class, but it's very important today to associate responsible. Who's the owner of this process? So we're going to have put a risk management team. So we can create the team that we need in the company. We're going to, in a little bit, we're going to see how it works. So we're going to associate the second team and associate. So I create the marketing process, and I can always edit it or add new information, change the responsible. We can also assess the critically that we told you about. Let me show you a more specific example of that. For instance, we told you that the technology process for us is missional and is very critical for us. So we can create the technology process in Pirani with all the information that we have. Maybe it is not supporting, it's going to change to missional. And we're going to assess the critically. So what is the maximum tolerable period of disruption? For us, is from 0 to 4 hours. Our customers need to have Pirani every single hour of the day. So for us, as a software as a service company, our clients and users need to use the software on a permanent basis. Our services offer in over 95% of availability. So for us, this process is critical for the company. So I can measure this process in here. But we also can rate the activities of the process. So in the service availability, okay, what we have in this? What is the impact on external customers if this process collapses? What is the non-compliance standards or regulations? What is the impact on image and reputation? And here we're not doing a risk. We just understanding this process. But again, this is optional. We only do this for this process. But for instance, the impact of external customers, what is the consequences if the software is not online? So we can rate will be from 0 to 4 hours will be moderate, from 5 to 12 hours is going to be severe, and everything more than 12 hours is going to be catastrophic for us, for our context and for our company. This is just an example of what we can do and track the processes of your company in order to do operational risk management. But most of companies, don't be afraid of them. Some companies never assess the process. They just categorize them, and that's okay as well. Is according to your maturity level on the size of your company. Maybe a startup or a middle-sized company don't need to do that, because again, that's more specific knowledge. So that's the way that we can create processes in Pirani, but you can also customize as the size of your company needs. For instance, remember when we create a marketing process, we're going to link responsible teams. So in Pirani, the good news is you can customize your organization, right? Because, okay, once I understand what is my process map and as I told you that every process needs to have an owner and a team that execute that process, because I also give you good tips to do this. So you should do that as well in your risk management software. So you're going to invite users in the first step. So in Pirani, from our starter plan, you have unlimited users, because we want that companies assure a risk management culture. If we want to work with 3 lines of defense, and we want to implement a risk management culture, everyone in the company should be invited to do risk management. You should not pay for every seat in our risk management software. So you have unlimited users. You can invite every people in your company to do risk management. And then we're going to back in the organization, we're going to create the teams, right? Because the process are executed by teams. So maybe we're going to create the team of marketing. I put the description, I don't know, content creators, almost the chief marketing officer, designers. And we associate the people here in this team, right? So we create a team of marketing, and we can create as many teams as we need in my company based on the context of my company, right? So we're going back, no, let me show you another thing. But because you can ask, okay, but if I invite all my company, all the people in the company will have access to create or delete or crash the software? Not, because you can also create different roles. Like maybe you have an administrators that they going to write and read and change the information, but maybe you will have a role just to read the information as to do. So you can create as many roles as you need with all the information that the access that you want to give them. So, okay, we're going to create a role, whatever name it is, and in processes, I want them to read, create, update, delete, or export. So you can change all the access that you want in your company by yourself. You don't going to need an engineer to do this. So you can create as many roles as you need. Of course, we can guide you in the creation of roles and whatever you need if you start using Pirani, right? So if we invite the named users to Pirani, we create the teams, we create the roles in my risk management methodology. But you can also ask, oh my God, and I invite 100 people of my company. What is the traceability of that? How can I see what is people doing? So you can also have an audit logs. So every change that every people do in the software, we're going to see it in the audit log. Every people, okay, this person create this risk, these people, for instance, everything that I do today, as you can see, 1040, 1036, everything that I did is tracked in the software. So maybe you, as a risk management, in the audit or whatever, you're going to show whatever people did in the software. So let's go back to the process and link the actual team, because remember that we link a team that doesn't belong to the marketing process, and that's not good. So we're going to the marketing process, and in the responsible parties, we're going to associate the marketing team that we already created, and they have an address. So we're going to link the marketing team, and we're going to unlink the risk management team. But again, you can link as many teams that you need. Okay. So, but we create the marketing process, but it's alone, because here in our process map, we say that marketing has the content marketing process and the advertising and the sub process of blog posting. So we're going to create as well. So put the content marketing here as a process. Marketing. We're going to say that is a strategic, and we're going to say that this is a process. So when we say it's a process, the software will ask me, okay, if this is a process, who's the father? Who's the owner of the content marketing? So we say, okay, so is the process. So we're going to choose the marketing process is the father of the process of content marketing, content creation. We can also add evidence, the process, and associate also the marketing team. Create, and that's it. Good. So when we create a process with children, for instance, in the legal process, you can see that he has C internal processes. So in legal process, we have a process of hiring, right? And the management process has content marketing. Oh, maybe I don't save the process. My mistake. Yeah, I didn't say when we created. So marketing process, content marketing, and I can enter in the content marketing and put the associate. This is important also because we can track the visibility of the data. For instance, you want to, okay, I don't want that the human resources team saw all the information that marketing has, because they will be overwhelmed with all the information. So you can, okay, only marketing team will going to see the processes and the risks of the marketing area. You can also custom or set the visibility of the data that you want. Maybe you want to have an open data, or maybe you want to have a specific data and access to information to every team. You can do as you like, okay? So we create the process of content marketing, and we're going to create the sub-process of blog posting. The same, we're going to create blog posting. We're going to say this is a strategic, and this is a sub-process. So again, it asks me, okay, what is content marketing? Create. So in marketing process is a macro process. We have content marketing, and inside content marketing, we have blog posting. And this is how we create all the processes that I have in my company, linking owners and teams to do the risk management. And then we're going to spoil a little bit of the next masterclass. Then we're going to, once we understand the process map of my company, the owners, the teams, the categories, the classification, we're going to do risk management. So we're going to create all the risks that I think we have in my company, ideally with the process owner, and then we're going to associate the risk with the process. But before that, we're going to show you another thing, because maybe in the process of your company, you want to ask more information, because maybe you say, oh, but you know what, Alejandro, if you only ask for name and type and the process, but I want to put more information in my company, maybe the headquarters, or I don't know, whatever thing you need. I can do that in Pirani? The answer is yes. Another thing, maybe you tell, oh, But you know what, Alejandro, in my company, my type or my categories are not strategic and mission, because in my company, we have a completely different name. You can do that as well, right? So, because with Pirani, you do risk management as you need to, as you like. We give you some custom, some presets, but also can change it. So we're going to do settings of Pirani. So in here, you can basically change the software as your needs. We're going to on system settings in operational risk management and fields. You can customize the fields of Pirani. So we give you the three category of support, mission, and strategic, but you can change those names. No, in my company, the names are different. I'm going to keep mission. Okay. And the categories is not macro process, but head process and second process or third party process. Whatever name you need, you can change it. But you can also add another field. I don't know, headquarters. Or I don't know, or area or country, whatever thing you need. And you can put as many fields that you need in order. So maybe country, so maybe it's going to be a short text, a large, a single selection menu, a multiple. Let's going to have multiple. So I saw that this one as from Abu Dhabi or UAE, so maybe UAE. I don't know if you want to tell us in the chat of what countries are you visiting us?
Alejandro, for example, Nicolas is from Dominican Republic too.
Oh, perfect. So, so we put as many as I need, and we can put if this field is going to be required or mandatory or not, and we're going to publish. So everyone in Pirani can, again, customize Pirani as they need. So if we go into processes, and as you can see, this can be done by an administrator users. This can be done by the risk manager. You don't have to ask for an engineer to do that. And then we're going to edit or the marketing process. And here is country. So is Dominican Republic, because we remember that we put this is going to be a multiple, but we can choose only a ratio or select only one. So you can create all the processes and all the process map that you need for your company. And then we put the information. We remember that we have missional and we put mission. Sorry, but this is the three categories for me. You can change in your company. And then we're going to link a rigs. We have some rigs here, but in the next class, we're going to see how to rate them. And for instance, we're going to put, I don't know, well, this is not very from marketing, maybe talent rotation. Like, this is more of a people process, but let's put some just to see change. So that process is now associated with the risk, everything that we see. So this is the information that we want to share with you today. Again, in the next class, in the next session of the risk management school, we're going to dive into risk. Now we understand the processes of the company. Now we're going to create risks. What are the good practices to create those risks? What information we need to have, and what is the good tips to rate them, to put it in the heat map, how a risk heat map works, 5 per 5, 4, whatever is going to be the next season in 2 weeks. So being 10:52, oh my God, tell me, I can see.
So I have some questions that are sent me to me internally. The first one, how long does it take to organize processes in an organization?
Well, I can answer that because it depends of your company, right? If you have a small and medium-sized company with not a lot of people and not a lot of bureaucracy, maybe you can do this in 1 week. But if you are a bank with, I don't know, 10,000 people, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So you need to, but because you need to interview the process owner. So again, if your company has 3 C-levels, it's going to be easy. But if your company has 20 head or leaders of something, you need to sit with them and understand the processes that they have. And this is going to be the first step of an audit in quality or risk management. So it depends. Sorry that the answer is so vague, but it depends of the size of the company, right? And the documentation that you have, because maybe you sit with your head of marketing or your chief marketing officer, and they have very clear what is the process. Okay, we have this, we can document that. But maybe you sit with the chief marketing officer and they don't have any idea of the process of the company. It's more usual than it seems. So again, it depends on your team, of your company. And the only thing that I can tell you, a risk manager can do this alone.
That's true.
Because remember, you are the second line of defense. You enable the company to do that. You need to teach them to do this. So, but someone has to do that. So that's a good point from start.
Okay, Alejandro, we have another question from John, who is asking, who are the people in charge of recording processes in a company?
That's a very good question. Depend of the methodology that you choose. Because as I show you, you can invite all the people in your company to do this. The best way to do this is that the owner of the process has access to Pirani, and he can create the process in Pirani. Of course, the risk man. I assume that you are the risk manager. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but you can team with them, you can work with them. But the ideal is the owner of the process is the first line of defense. They need to understand his process. They need to own the process and the risks of the process. But I aware that this is an ideal world, and the ideal world usually do not exist. So in the more realistic approach, the risk manager going to sit with the process owner. They're going to work on that, and then the risk manager will upload or input or register or create the process in Pirani as you like, as the methodology that you have. You can do both, because remember, in Pirani you have unlimited users, and you can create all the access and roles that you need in your company.
Okay, Alejandro, we have 2 more questions. One is from Alberto, but it's related to risk matrix. So I'm gonna ask you as well. Okay. What is the best way to elaborate a risk matrix for an area, starting with the potential risks as a brainstorm, or starting with the inventory of processes and identified relative risks?
Well, you answer your own question. all the things that you put are okay. Again, it depends of your company, because you need to work. I mean, the best answer that I can give you is no one knows better the process than the owner of the process. No one knows better the risks of a technology process that the head of technology or chief technology officer or technology manager or whatever your role is. So if you understand his process, you need to talk with them, because you can say, okay, do my job, create all the risks by yourself. You need to sit with them and, okay, now that we have the clear picture of the processes that you rule, because the head of technology only cares about technology, right? So maybe he's going to ask you, okay, so how the chief marketing officer did. So you tell, okay, we see this, we create that, and maybe you're going to be the coach or the mentor to the owner. Sorry, again, maybe he will be more proactive and they're going to give you a lot of ideas, or you get, and maybe they will give you 100 risks that they see, or then maybe you need, no, not that fast. Maybe let's going to focus first on this. And the most important thing here is the conversation that the risk manager had to the risks, with the process owner. And based on that relationship and based on the ownership of the owner of the process, sorry for the redundancy, is going to create the risks. But our approach is the best way to do those risks list is starting from here, not the other way around. Not start from risks and then understand the process. But if you start from risks and then do the process, once you are doing the process, you're going to say, oh, I forgot this. Oh, maybe I never see this, right? So, but we're going to dive into the risks in the next class. So please join us in 2 weeks when we're going to dive in the risks.
Thanks, Alejandro. And we have the last one question. Amanda asked us about how often should we check our processes?
Well, that's a very good question. And sorry to always answer the same. It depends on your company, but once a year is perfect. Once you're starting with, because again, there is no a perfect process. So the idea of risk managing a company is this concept here of continuous improvement and monitor and report. So maybe you put a perfect process for you in the first step. And when you put the risks and put your strategy and when you monitor and report, you say that process is a failure. If you realize that in 2 months, change the process. Improve the process. That's why monitor and continuous improvement is about. But if you run the cycle and everything is fine, I don't think it's going to be that. Maybe next year you're going to revisit the process. But how you can have information to change or improve the process? When you monitor and report the risk management. So we're all going to see that in a master class. I don't know in how many weeks, but we're going to address that.
In 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Alejandro, for your valuable participation in this webinar. And finally, I would love to invite everyone to participate in a short survey that will appear when this meeting ends. This will help us a lot to continue improve our webinars. Thank you so much for your participation and see you soon.